Look at the chart for Abraham Lincoln. He was born February 12th, 1809 at 6:54 a.m. in Hodgenville, Kentucky. If we look to the eastern horizon when he was born, we would see the 11th sign of Aquarius rising. And it is rising at 0 degrees, which is, just 0 degrees in 52 seconds. And first thing we want to do is we want to see how the planets are operating in his chart and when they're operating, and if there is any remedies that might have been helpful for him. So he has a very strong chart. Sun, which is has to do with politics, is in the very first house. So this is the house of life purpose, and it is ruling Leo. You see in the seventh house, ruled by Sun, is ruling the house of partnership. So he he had very good organizational and leadership abilities, especially through political partnerships. Moon is again Moon. Any planet that rules the sixth, the eighth, or the 12th house becomes functional, malefic, and transformational Vedic astrology. So you see the sign of Cancer in the sixth house, and it is ruled by Moon. And you see the sign of Virgo in the eighth house, and it is ruled by Mercury. And there are no multicona signs in the 12th house. So it's just Moon, Mercury, Rahu, and Ketu that are functional malefic for this chart. So Moon is a functional malefic, and I forgot to mention, Sun at 2 degrees is very close to the most effective point. So any planet that's close to 0, either 26 degrees or within 26 to 5 degrees, becomes has impact in this chart. And Sun is within 2 degrees of the most effective point of every house, so it has a lot of impact. Moon is just barely there, and it is functional malefic, and it rules this house of health issues, conflicts, and moon has a signifier for mind, so inner conflict, and it's found in the 12th house, so depression. So he had some real depressive episodes. In fact, during in 1818, during a excuse me, 1941, he went into a very suicidal, depressive mode, and that was during a moon period. Sub-period, excuse me. Let's see. So then Mars is ruling the house of entrepreneurial success, communication, ability, and it is placed in the house of good fortune. So it says that he would have good fortune. It's just slightly weak through business and communication, and it's in this house of legal, so law. So he had success through law, and he was also a carpenter. Actually, had many trait abilities. Mercury is at 19 degrees, and it rules the house of challenges. It's functional malefic, and it is it brings and Mercury is found in the very first house. So it brings challenges to the body, challenges to the mind. He had a lot of self-esteem issues and inner conflict, although he had great abilities to lead the country. Jupiter is at 0 degrees, very, very weak. And it rules the house of income. So gave income through law. He was a lawyer. And because it's very weak, it would either limit children or cause issues for children. And so I think 3 out of his 5 children died. And it was during a Jupiter period that his son, one of his sons died. So Venus, it signifies children in a man's chart and a woman's chart. Venus is at 16 degrees, and it is ruling the house of good fortune, and it is placed in the house of wealth and recognition. So Venus gave him, this is also the house of speech. So it gave good fortune through persuasive speech, and also signifies wife. Now, the other planet is Saturn. Saturn is at 11 degrees, and it is ruling the very first house of life purpose. So, and it's in the career house. So Saturn signifies hard work and service. So his whole life purpose was about service to humanity, leader of the masses. And Rahu and Ketu in his chart are placed in the third house of success and the ninth house of good fortune and law. So give him a desire for justice and law, and intuition into becoming successful. So let's look at the timeline. His mother died in 1818. That was during a moon period. Moon represents mother. He Again, he had this terrible suicidal type depression in 1941. So that was during a Rahu period. Rahu can create stress to the mind. Then he became president in 1860. So November 6th, 1860. So that was during a Jupiter period. So, and out of a strong desire for justice for the nation. And then he wrote the Emancipation Proclamation to free the slaves in 1863. Again, so that would have been a Saturn period during the service. Became, and then let's see, his son died in 1862. Again, that would have been during a Jupiter period, Jupiter representing children. And then he was murdered or assassinated in April 14, excuse me, which is just a few days short of this. Hold on one second. We just back up here 4 days to April 14, 1965. So we see several things here. K2 aspects 5, 7, and 9 houses away, transiting K2. So it is afflicting Mercury. Mercury is ruling the house of death-like experiences. And Mercury, natal Mercury, is afflicting transiting Saturn. Saturn is longevity in the first house. So those two things indicate the assassination. So these are the points for Abraham Lincoln's chart. Now, what could he have done to strengthen his chart? So Saturn was one of his strongest planets. Oh, yes, and he was assassinated, yeah, during that Saturn period, which is, again, longevity. So what could be done to strengthen his chart? So we would want to transform Moon by respecting Mother. Now, Mother, again, his mother died at a very young age. So mother-like figures in his life, respecting them. And then chants to Shiva would be helpful, listening to chants of Shiva, especially on Mondays, and listening to Vishnu chants on Wednesdays and helping children would transform Mercury. And Rahu and Ketu could be transformed by listening to Ganesh chants on Thursdays and Shiva chants on Saturdays for Rahu, and helping stray dogs, feeding the birds for Rahu. And then Venus and Saturn were fairly strong in his chart, but the other planet, Sun, is weak at 2 degrees. So wearing a kavash or a ruby would be helpful to strengthen Sun, wearing sun-like colors. Strengthening Moon by wearing white colors. And, Moon we don't want to strengthen because it's functional malefic. Strengthening Mars by wearing red colors because it's just slightly weak at 4 degrees. And then Jupiter, definitely, by wearing a yellow sapphire or kavash, would be the things that we'd want to strengthen in his chart. So thank you for listening. If you're interested in transformational Vedic astrology reading, you can book one at vastucreations.com. If you're interested in learning how to use transformational Vedic astrology in your life, you can go to American Institute of Vastu.com. Thank you for listening.